Hello and welcome back, everybody. You're listening to a new interview in the series of The Amazing Autistic Woman. I'm Tanya, your host, and I'm glad to have you back. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And by the way, I made a new channel which is called Woman on the Spectrum, and there I only publish stuff about autism in women. Please subscribe there too. In this series, I interview women on the autism spectrum showing their everyday life struggles, problems, and limitations. Autism is not something you can see, it's invisible, but the limitations we experience can be tough to deal with sometimes. And usually, autistic women don't really have that understanding and support from the immediate environment, and therefore, I think it's really important to make the autistic woman visible and to show that we do have struggles and problems. We are not lying. We are very good in masking, and that's why you probably think that we don't there's nothing wrong with us, but we do struggle sometimes. I love to make these interviews and I would love to make much more. So if you find them interesting, please consider donating to my fundraiser. The link is below the video. Thanks. Okay, now today I have invited Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, Emily lives in Seattle in the US. She's married, she's a mother of 3 kids, and all the five family members are on the spectrum. And Emily's special interest is parenting. So, Emily, why parenting and what exactly do you do?
Well, I knew as a little girl I wanted to do two things in life, and that was to play with plants and to be a stay-at-home mom. And I achieved those. I got a PhD in plant ecology,
Mhm.
and I'm a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me as a kid that was unfulfilled by my family situation, and then I admired parents that stayed at home with their kids. My parents are both doctors and not around very much. So I really wanted that connection with children. And yeah,
Good. And what exactly do you do? You say you help other parents?
yeah, I'm a parent coach. It's called Pure Joy Parenting. And I often found that like a lot of parents would come to me knowing that my kids were autistic or they go to OT or speech therapy, and they would ask me their advice. And often these parents were had kids that were, undiagnosed and they didn't even know it. So I'd support them in sending them the right direction and how to get support.
Mm,
And the type of parent coaching I do is like self-parent. It's like reparenting yourself, your inner child. So it's not about controlling the child's behavior. It's about getting in touch with yourself and your needs and how to support yourself so you can come into the situation with the child as, in your adult capacity.
that sounds great. And Emily, you told me you had your diagnosis just recently. Do you want to tell
Mhm.
us how you got that?
Yeah, it's been about a month. So a lot's been changing for me. First, my 7-year-old daughter, when she was 7, she got diagnosed. And then it was my husband. And then it was my younger son. And after a while, I was like, well, I should go get checked out. And I'm also autistic.
Mm.
Yeah. So I was always taking care of everybody else first before my own needs, as a lot of women and mothers do.
Yeah, and did that come to a surprise to you that you are also autistic?
It was pretty shocking, but I would say like because I've learned more and more about autism, I it wasn't it was actually reassuring about a lot of things in my daily life and how my brain works and how I interact with people. Yeah, but I wish I would have known as a little kid. It would have been really helpful.
Yeah, I bet. And you said a lot of things have changed since you had your diagnosis. For example,
I'm learning to work with like my sensory. I'm learning to, I guess, identify my sensory needs, my sensory overwhelm. Um, take care of myself in ways that I didn't know I needed to before. I was just kind of pushing through. Like I'd worry about my husband's sensory needs and my kids' sensory needs. And I'd often just like push through to get things done versus taking a step back and taking care of myself first.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And what other problems do you experience in everyday life that are from the autism? Can you give a few examples, please?
Yeah, well, I think I'm still learning, but some things are, I have a hard time asking for help with the kids, like having a friend or family member come over, because a lot of the time there's a social interaction that just seems like more work than the help I'll get with the kids.
Mm.
So I tend, yeah, to not reach out for help when I really do need it.
Mhm. And the social interaction is stressful for you as well.
Yeah, I consider myself really social. I have a lot of friends. But after a day of socializing, I need to come home and just have quiet, take a bath. Yeah, and
Hmm.
just take care of my needs.
Yeah. Do you get overwhelmed with noise or smells as well?
Yeah, I have a very sensitive nose. And sometimes, yeah, I can smell way too much. So I'm learning to work with that. I've learned I have sensory needs with my hands and like dirty dishes, and getting, yeah, being dirty. So I started using gloves so I can do the dishes and other things. And a tool I've started using was for the sensory, for the smell, I bring out a bottle of essential oil. So if
Mm.
I get overwhelmed with the smell, I can just smell that. So it's a great tool.
Hmm. Yeah. And are you using headphones a lot as well?
I don't use headphones that much, but I tend to like do sensory seeking for sound. So like I'll need music to keep my body moving and put it like attention on that sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned to me that you experience loneliness sometimes, but at the same time you want to be independent.
Hmm.
You want to tell us a bit more about that?
The loneliness. Well, there was a lot of loneliness in my childhood, and I was always trying to get away from that by being with other people or being in nature. Um, and now as an adult, like I'll need space. I need my space. So like if my husband takes my kids out to the park, I'm home, I can do my thing, but then the sense of loneliness comes back,
Mm.
of feeling of, yeah, of like needing people around me to feel secure, but then having a hard time getting my needs met by,
Yeah.
you know, having people go somewhere else so I can take care of myself.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
And you also told me that you had you really had problems to interact with people when you were younger.
Yeah, I wasn't, you know, I assumed it was because I didn't get much social interaction from my parents and family that I had a hard time relating. But now knowing I was autistic, I think, oh, well, there was other things going on. And I was, you know, I did the thing where you kind of like circle around the people. You're not like actively in a friendship. You're kind of just on the sidelines learning about the friendship. And yeah, I didn't have any like best friends. I had like two best friends that I would just kind of hang out with. Like they were best friends and I was the third person.
Oh, okay. I get.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Do you think it's still a bit like this now or not?
I think I've really improved. Well, I don't know if improving is the right word, but yeah, I'm able to have closer relationships. But I'm still like, what is a close relationship? I'm still discovering what that is. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I have many friends, but I don't think I have that many close friends. I even question like what, you know, my marriage and my kids, like what's a close relationship because I don't really understand what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm close to my husband. I think I'm close to my kids, but like is my reality reality? Mhm.
Yeah, start to question everything.
Yeah,
And what is a friend? What is a friend?
yeah.
Hmm.
You asking me that question?
No, I just asked.
Yeah,
I'm asking myself
yeah.
the question, what is a friend? Or just an acquaintance? Mm.
Yeah, I think for me, a friend's someone that's there for you during the hard times when you're not at your best or you're struggling and they're there for you.
Yeah, true. Mm. So you only had your diagnosis recently. That means you probably came up with some coping strategies for all these things that happened that you found strange or these problems that you experienced. Do you want to
Mhm.
mention a few of them?
Yeah. Well, a lot of my strategies as a kid and as I was getting older was to being really helpful, really motherly and nurturing, so people would want me around. So it was more like social ways of coping with being autistic in social situations to feel needed and wanted and helpful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, are you talking as an adult? What do I do to cope with? Yeah.
You mentioned the
So
bath.
yeah, I take a bath. Yeah, that's my when I kind of had my limit for the day. I take a bath, and so that just I close the door and I'm in the water. That really helps. Being in nature helps a lot
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of energy running through my body and just staying like finding ways to be regulated.
Yeah. Other things.
Um, I'm still learning, but to take care of myself when, you know, someone needs to be taken care of, I also need to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, you mentioned also maybe to avoid too many social interactions,
yeah,
like people coming over to the house. Yeah.
people coming over or going out and doing things.
Mm.
Yeah, I prefer to stay home and like work in the garden or
Okay, yeah. All right. To anyone who's watching now, I made a self-paced course, video course with exercises and give away my own coping strategies for free. There is a link below the video and you can learn about EFT tapping, meditation, affirmations and stuff. You'll find it below. And yeah, thank you, Emily, for this interview. Would you like to give a take-home message to anyone who's listening today?
yeah, I think the important thing is for girls to get tested and women to get tested and get a second opinion and a third opinion. Um, because often you're misdiagnosed because you're too friendly, too social.
Yeah.
And to look back in your childhood and think about, well, maybe once if you are diagnosed, that it was how your brain was working at the time, not the environmental factors of your childhood or your situation, for the reasons of who you are and why you do things the way you do.
Mm.
I also that there's things that in my adulthood that I felt like were things that were wrong with me, like my tone of voice. I'm intense sometimes. I overreact. Like these things are being autistic, not just like you're mean or yeah, there's something wrong with you, that these are actually things that make you who you are and they can be celebrated.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah. I think it's good to get the diagnosis and then it's like starting a new identity.
Yeah. Yeah, you can look back at the past and you can kind of go through your childhood, make sense of things, and then you're kind of having a fresh start. So what do you want to do, today and tomorrow and in the future? And for me, it's a lot about I like working with neurodivergent families and stepping in that role of autism being a superpower and trying to change the dialogue and people's opinion. Well, I can't change opinion, but being a role model for that awareness and that change.
Yeah, I think it's important. It's great. Good. Okay. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me.
And you're welcome. Thanks for taking the time and to be so brave to speak in front of the camera after your recent diagnosis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.